Hey, kids. This is a tasty burger. Burger. Straight down, want that.
Walking down the street.
Man, 25. Straight down.
Goddamn hand cannon.
You're a smart motherfucker.
This sounds like you actually have something to say.
Fuck me, cat rabbits. Straight down. Oh, fuck me. Do you ask? I'm the fucking master. Fuck me, cat rabbits. Straight down. Oh, fuck me. Do you ask?
Fucking good milkshake.
Want that. Want that.
Bunch of fox.
Want that. Want that.
Goddamn hand cannon.
Want that.
Bunch of fox.
Goddamn hand cannon.
Want that.
You'll be the one soon.
Goddamn.
You'll be the one.
Goddamn.
You'll be the one soon.
Goddamn.
You'll be the one. Goddamn. Let's go.
Say what again? Say what again? Say what again? Motherfucker, say what again? Say what again? Say what again? Good.
Fucking good milkshake.
Fuck me, cat rabbits, straight down. Oh, fuck me. Do you what myself?
That's a little bit.
Fuck me, cat rabbits, straight down. Oh, fuck me. Do you rate vengeance and furious anger? Say what again?
Inside tape on the kangaroo.
Say what again? Say what again?
Inside tape on the kangaroo.
Say what again? Say what again?
As one of those, you'll be the one walking down the street. Goddamn. As one of those, you'll be the one walking down the street. Goddamn. You'll be the one soon.
Goddamn.
You'll be the one.
Goddamn.
You'll be the one soon.
Goddamn.
You'll be the one. Goddamn.
Fucking good milkshake.
Love the flow. 69. Now it's time for new, believable people, and we must do it. If we don't control insiders, this will be over and over. Deleted by an any big fat love, find common ground to halt the spread of lies, and we must do it. Big fat love, find common ground to halt the spread of lies, and any America first. America first, non-fatal. We want to build a much better, believable people, and we must do it non-fatal. Communication very much higher. America first, to lead by an any. Insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. More of insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. America first. Love the flow. 69. Now it's time for new, believable people, and we must do it. If we don't control insiders, this will be over and over. To lead, fight, and any big, fat love, find common ground. To halt the spread of lies, and we must do it big, fat love, find common ground. To halt the spread of lies, and any America first. America first, non-fatal. We want to build a much better, believable people, and we must do it non-fatal. Communication very much higher. America first. To lead, fight, and any insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. More of insiders fighting for insiders. Time to stop. Insiders fighting for insiders. America first. Love the flow.
I don't want to see him kissing goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. I don't want to see him kissing goblins, succubus with goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. I don't want to see him kissing goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. I don't want to see him kissing goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. Dump it. Charging into a goblin's nest, some goblin vomit and slop and blood on it, especially up to his ankles. Trump charging into a goblin's nest, some goblin vomit and slop. Goblin vomit and slop. I'm not expecting him to not get dirty slop. Seeing goblins, ingratiating goblins, succubus with goblins, bed with a goblin. Seeing goblins, ingratiating goblins. I just want to catch him in bed with a goblin, bed with a goblin, in bed with a goblin, in bed with a goblin. I just want to catch him in bed with a goblin, bed with a goblin, bed with a goblin, bed with a goblin.
And I don't want nobody, and I don't want nobody. You got that right. And I don't want nobody. I lost. Want nobody. And I don't want nobody.
Girl, never need.
You got that right. Nope. And I don't want nobody.
I lost.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But if that's
and I don't want nobody.
girl,
Extra work for you got that right.
the iron arm,
And I don't want nobody.
ice drop. I lost.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But if that's
And I don't want nobody.
girl,
Extra work for
I was dancing. I could close.
and I don't want nobody.
Mother make them ice.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But if that's
And I don't want nobody.
girl,
Extra work for you got that right.
Vivian.
And I don't want nobody.
mother make them ice.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But if that's
And I don't want
girl,
extra work for you got that right.
ooh,
But I'm girl, but I'm
walk into my car.
but I'm
Basketball.
oh young
You must ride.
don't want
Girl,
extra I'm
everybody.
oh young
You must ride.
got that right. No, I'm not that right. You got that right. No, I'm not. Oh young want nobody.
The Peacock is proud to present music from Hawaii.
Not you fool. Other
Make them ice.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But if that's
What if I don't got you fool?
girl,
Extra work for you got that right.
I can close so
Want nobody.
make them
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But if that's
Just hop on my
girl,
extra work for no one.
girl,
Got that right. Not you fool.
make them ice.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But if that's
What if I don't just hop on my
girl,
extra work for you got that right.
I can close so
Want nobody.
Seen some amazing things in my life. You know, I've been around the world. Not the entire world, but I've been around United States, Canada, Mexico. everywhere in the United States you can pretty much mention. I've been there. A lot of little towns I've enjoyed, and I've seen a lot of things. I've seen inexplicable things happen when least expected. I have had some of the greatest times in the most improbable of places with the most improbable of people. I've been so fortunate to see a vast variety of situations, people, places, and things. But I'll be damned, I've lived this long and I have never seen anything even remotely close to the insolence, the just complete idiosyncrasy. This person has no idea that anybody or anything exists outside of themselves. But who am I talking about? I'm talking about Peter Strzok. Excuse me, I almost vomited when I said his name. Excuse me. I'm gonna play some clips here. I'm going to have my eye on this monitor right here, just in case they flash that little sign like they did when I was taking the Mickey Bliss with David Hoggy Hog. And if they, flash their little warning sign, I will cease and desist. And I know I started with some music. Hopefully people will come back. We had 7 folks here and they split. They didn't want to see the ogre cringing out, dancing while the music was playing. I understand that. I do that for my own self, and I just love music and kind of sets the mood for me. And I mean, America first. I didn't like what happened. I'm going to talk about a couple things before I get right into this Peter Strzok thing. I didn't like what happened with President Trump there with Prime Minister May at the Checkers, at the joint presser. I didn't like it. Look, President Trump, I love you. You've made the point, though. I tell you what, do something novel, President Trump. This is a little advice from your non-paid, very, very unofficial advisor, the ever-loving, blue-eyed, laughing ogre. Let them ask a question. Let CNN ask a question. Look, the best thing you can do is let an idiot talk. Look at what's happening to CNN now, right now, as we speak. Look what's happening. Look what's happening to the left. I mean, the Proud Boys went there to just recently to Portland, Oregon, where they were having yet another patriot prayer and a gathering. And if it wasn't for them 50 or so Proud Boys, there was a crowd. And I heard Gavin, I agree. I watched it before I heard him say this. I've watched this and I made my own conclusion to this already. If it wasn't for the Proud Boys that day, they probably would have killed the gentleman there that organized the prayer. The new witches, the new ones to be driven out, the new ones to be hung, the new ones to be cast in the sea with a millstone around their neck to see if they float, are the Christians. I am not such an active Christian as I once was. I believe that Christ, if you're a Christian, lives in your heart. But that said, I don't want to go into a lot of excuses. I should be going to church just to support my local community. It's such a great thing when you have, be it Buddhists, be it Hindus, be it Native Americans with the great spirit and the worship of nature. Whatever it be, it's such a wonderful thing to have a structure outside of government institutions that inculcates morals and righteous living into humans. And righteous, what do I mean by that? I'm not using that in a religious way. Righteous as in the right way, righteous, right path, right doing, righteous. The right way. We all need that to some extent. Lord knows I do. You all know I do. You all know me. Everyone here knows who I am. I don't have a lot I could hide from you people. That's one reason I do this. I'm a hermit. Not too many people see me. This has been a good thing for me because I get feedback. Ogre, you're crazy on this. Well, sometimes that's just a troll telling me that and whatever. But a lot of times it's a friend saying, you know what, Ogre, you've lived in your ogre cave and tended your vegetables and your chickens for the last 4 years with little human contact. And I'm telling you that you're not seeing the whole picture. And at that point, I have to take a step back. I have to say, well, but there's some people incapable of this. I don't want to believe that President Trump is one of those people. I've seen him change his tune on things, but it seems to me the only time he changes his tune on things is whenever he's up against someone intelligent that can bring ideas, and he'll change on the fly, bring ideas counter to his to him in an intelligent way, and he'll change on the fly. Sorry, sometimes I'm thinking fast, and it's not good to speak fast, because thinking fast is okay. But you have to moderate that. You have to govern that with speech. Otherwise, I would leave things half said, and y'all won't know where I'm going. I would like to think that Donald Trump could be flexible, could be the willow in the wind, could be that mighty palm tree where the live oak breaks and is destroyed by the storm and chopped up and used for firewood. That palm tree stands through fires, through hurricanes, through tornadoes in a lot of cases. I have seen palm trees that twisted and were so twisted they looked like a screw going into the ground because a tornado hit them, but they didn't get pulled up. Excuse me. It's important to be flexible. Not on your core principles, folks. I say this time and time again, but I want to drill it. You can't be flexible on, I don't think people should be hurt. If you are inflexible on, I don't think people should be hurt, well, then when you've seen Sacha Cohen Baron, whatever his name is, Borat, when you see Sacha Baron get Dick Cheney to sign a waterboarding kit, and Dick Cheney thinking it's real, laughing, going, oh, it's the first time I've ever done this, signed a waterboarding kit. Dick Cheney, what if another country, i.e. Jordan, okay? What if Jordan had you in their custody? They don't believe in what you believe in, sir. They don't believe in your God or Satan or whoever it is that you worship, sir. They do not believe what you believe in, sir. And they would believe that they would have the right to torture you, sir, to get information that would harm them and to be able to counteract that. I don't think they should be able to do that, but you think it's okay to torture people? President Bush, waterboard people, President Trump, it's still on the books. Enhanced interrogation, forced stress positions. Anybody seen the movie? Because I was just watching Rufio Pan Man. Bow! One of the most beautiful looping right hooks it wasn't even a right hook. It was a reach in the back pocket and bring out a haymaker. I'll go there in a second, okay? I don't want to get too off that. But has anyone seen the movie Hook with Dustin Hoffman and the late great Robin Williams? And don't give up what you believe in. Don't do it. Yeah, my mind just hit a click. As soon as I said Pan Man Rufio, everything I was saying just flew out of my head like a fucking bird. Oh, man. These little white owls are pretty good. I usually smoke Swisher Sweets, but these little white owls are daggone good if you smoke tobacco. I don't recommend it. It's terrible for your lungs. So, yes. And so, yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate you getting me back on track. And is it not torture, MCJK? You'd be more qualified to answer that question than I would, I guess, because I don't know. Have you ever been waterboarded? If I had to guess, I'd say there's a chance. Yeah. I mean, I know that you were in certain circles that, I know you've been maced and tear gassed and all this other stuff. So you do have a leg to stand on for this, but I would like you to remember one thing. I believe, it's the boo box is where I was going. If anybody's seen Hook, the movie Hook, they took one of the pirates that did something wrong and they put him in the boo box. They put him in a box, opened up a little trap door in this chest that was airtight, no light going in there, and was throwing scorpions and snakes and spiders in there with him, going boo, boo, and throwing scorpions in there. Well, we do something very similar. I mean, we have forced stress positions where they put them in boxes that are made to hold you in a certain way. You can't move much. And they'll leave you there 24 hours with bright lights on, temperatures very high, turn the lights off, turn the temperatures very low. Of course, you're naked. Flash strobe lights, blare loud music. I mean, these things, enhanced interrogation, MCJK, I'm not even going to beat around the bush. We'll always disagree on that. If you don't believe that's torture, it is. In fact, I'd go so far as to say solitary confinement is torture. I'm coming at it from a psychologist standpoint, and I'm saying that if you force someone to have no interaction with human beings, not to touch them, not to see them, not to hear from them, well, it's torture. All right, class. Now that we just have the faithful few here, probably going to get on to this because obviously I'm going off into this wild, ranting, conscious stream of thought, and it can be good, and it will be good later, I hope. But I want to talk a little bit about this human being, this Peter Strzok, unconscionable human being. Should have recused himself. He is the kind of person that doesn't believe that anything he does is wrong. Now, I'm sure that other people have done the exact same thing that he's done here, and he has had them put in jail for it, in prison, smeared them, done all kinds of bad things to them in the name of he is right and they are wrong. How you doing, memes? So let's take a look at this together. I don't know. Many of you have probably already witnessed, large snippets of this in the mainstream media, but let's take a look at this. Trey Gowdy, Trey a galloping get up and go Gowdy, questioning Peter the Dick Strzok.
I think we're, a couple of months into the presidency? See if you can recall this text that you received. Finally, 2 pages away from finishing ATPM. Do you know the president resigns in the end? What is ATPM?
I believe it's a reference to the book All the President's Men.
All right. Do you recall how you replied?
Generally, I feigned surprise and said something to the effect that we should be so lucky or fortunate.
For those of you that don't know, I do believe All the President's Men is about Richard Nixon. Constantly trying to compare Donald Trump with Richard Nixon is getting old with me. They're not the same people. Watergate is not the same thing that we're dealing with here.
Lucky in what way?
Sir, that he would resign as president.
You wanted him to resign 2 months into his presidency?
Sir, my sense was, in a personal belief, that I was not pleased with the direction and things that were being done with the presidency.
I thought you trusted the American people. I thought that was what you said in August of 2016, that the American
presidency.
I thought you...
in a personal belief that I was not pleased with the direction and things that were being done with the presidency.
Well, I don't know what else to say other than that is the definition of biased. He says, I didn't like what was being done with it. He's never liked Donald Trump. I'll try to go on here at least a couple minutes and not interrupt because I need to watch this and make sure they're not going to get me for any kind of copyright, anything. So here we go. A little bit more from Peter the Dick Strzok.
Trusted the American people. I thought that was what you said in August of 2016, that the American people would stop him, and then they didn't stop him. And here we are in March, all of a sudden not trusting the American people anymore.
Sir, I utterly trust the American people. What I worry about is when the government of Russia puts their fingers on the scale and causes the will of the American people to be something other than America.
How many indictments have there been of Americans for collusion with Russia?
Sir, I couldn't answer that question.
Sure you could.
Well, when
you worked on the investigation.
When you say that, first, you know full well, sir, collusion is not a crime. I don't know where that term came from, but
well, you're right. It's not. It's not conspiracy, coordination, collusion. A lot of people use those words in the same way. How about we say conspiracy?
Sure.
How many Americans have been indicted for conspiring with Russia to impact the 2016 election?
None, to my knowledge.
Yeah,
none. Oh, and then of course you have this insolent congressman from Rhode Island that has to pipe up and say, yet. What's amazing to me is, I mean, this person's face, if you get a good look at Peter Strzok, he's tense in a lot of ways. His shoulders are hanging a little low, but you see a lot of tension up here in his upper shoulder. You see this pinched look between his eyebrows. His body language right now is telling me, I am angry at this person that is questioning me now. I would hurt this person physically any way that I could. I would use my power as an FBI agent, which this human being is obviously used to. He's used to using his power as an FBI agent. Look at the look here. You can see the patronizing look now as his eyebrows go up. You still see the pinched look. You still see the prominent lines right there that follow the nose up to the forehead. You still see this hunched but tense spring-like action right up here in the top of his shoulders. You see a person that right now is a principal berating a rowdy schoolboy. You see someone that is in authority and that has dominion over. He doesn't want to face the facts that right now he's before Congress. Congress created the FBI. The FBI answers to Congress. This smug, corrupt individual doesn't understand that hating Donald Trump and wanting him to resign and wanting him to be impeached before any proceedings have taken place is the very definition of bias and one of the best reasons for any prosecutor, judge, or investigating agent of any kind to recuse themselves. And he is just so unaware of himself, he's unable to do this.
Adler is a witness at next week's hearing if he wants to help you answer that. So you wanted President Trump to resign 2 months into his presidency.
No, sir. I think I read that text as a snarky comment about a book that was being read and a comment made. It is a conversational text exchange. It is not a written expression of a desire for something to occur.
Well, maybe I missed it. Well, help me. God, that we should be so lucky.
Yes, sir. And I think you would accept as a very intelligent, sophisticated man that people frequently speak when they're texting or in conversation. You'll say things that are hyperbole or exaggerations or not literal because that's just the nature of the way.
Usually, Agent Strzok, not when I was supposed to be dispassionately, neutrally investigating someone. I actually did not, but let's go.
Man, I got to just make a little comment there because Gowdy makes an excellent point. Not when I am the one that is supposed to be investigating this situation. Not when I am the one that is supposed to be deciding who is guilty and who is innocent. Not when I am the one that has the power of the FBI behind me to investigate everything about a human being and anyone they've ever come in contact with. This, not only Lady Justice is weeping, Lady Justice is shaking her head. And in this man's case, his rendition of Lady Justice has taken off her blindfold, taken a good look, and with much bias, pre-decided outcomes of investigations. This is horrible.
He passed the who gives a F, one more AD versus an investigation leading to impeachment. And I think we've already established that there is a school of thought that you can be impeached even if you're not a current office holder. You can be barred from holding office in the future, but you did not engage in any impeachment analysis in your other 2016 investigation with Secretary Clinton. You saved all of that for candidate Trump. So I want to go to another text. You and I both know the odds are nothing. If I thought it was likely, I'd be there, no question. Now, this is the day after Mueller was appointed. When you said be there, are you talking about on his team?
Yes, sir.
I hesitate in part because of my gut sense and concern. There's no big there. So in addition to disappointing the hell out of my Democrat colleagues, that someone who was investigating Russian collusion didn't think there was any there, why would you be concerned? Why would you not be ecstatic that there was no collusion? Why the word concerned?
Sir, I don't know what I meant. Concern to me seems like there is a lot going on and a lot presumptive that there may be something like impeachment. But sir, you got to pick. Which one do you want? I'm either convinced that there's impeachment or I'm convinced what you just read, that there's no there. And there.
No, you don't have to have one or the other, because he was saying he wants impeachment, but his gut feeling is that there's no there. He is lamenting that he doesn't already have something that he can nail down impeachment with. This is someone going into an investigation with a pre-assumption of guilt and already a verdict. And as Gowdy's saying, impeachment is where you are struck from office ever. It's a, you know, it's not a criminal charge. You are impeached. Your character's impugned. You're impeached. You could never hold office again. And that's what they were hoping. That's what they've been hoping from the beginning, that this man that is an independent thinking human being, and that is in there now making, they were terrified that he was going to keep these promises and he was going to do what he said, and he's doing them now. They are quaking. For lack of better terms, the deep state, the New World Order, the globalists, the Bilderbergers, the trilaterals, the Council on Foreign Relations, these people, the Bohemian Grovers, the Skull and Bonesers, 322, anyone? The Masons, the Illuminati. They are the ones that hate Donald Trump, because, to quote one of the people that's standing up for him now, Newt Gingrich, who I do not trust and do not like, he said before President Trump was elected, he will never get elected because he's not a member of the societies. He hasn't taken the pledges. He doesn't know the secret handshakes. What do you want to bet? That Agent Strzok knows the secret handshakes. How is he still, look, in today's climate where Papa John allegedly uses the N-word in a phone call, has to resign from the company that he built from a closet in Louisville, Kentucky, to a mammoth money powerhouse. It has to resign. People are fired for the mere thought of things that are socially unacceptable. But this person is moved to human resources? Are you kidding me? He should have been fired outright. I believe they're keeping him on so they can keep a string on him. See these two people behind him here? And there's another woman behind him, right behind him, and there's another black lady to the right of his screen, which would be to his left. All those are FBI attorneys making sure he says exactly what they want him to say. This guy is a smug, pompous, self-serving liar that knows exactly what he's done and has purged himself to the highest degree right here before our very eyes.
You just read that there's no there. And the reality, sir, if you look at it, is the fact that I was looking at this with an open mind and saying, I don't know what
actually
there is.
Agent Strzok, of all the universe of options, that's not the one I picked. But of all the universe of options, you looking at something with an open mind is not the one I picked.
But that's the obvious one to conclude from that email.
I'll tell you the one that I picked. The one.
Can you believe what that man from Rhode Island just said? But that's the obvious one when you look at that email. If this was somebody that was on the other side, same situation, but just on the other side, that, I can't even remember his name and don't care to learn it. That person from Rhode Island would not be saying that. They would be trying to bolster up what he was saying instead of trying to tear it down. This is just, here, let's listen on. Oops.
It breaks my heart to say this about an agent for an agency that I have tremendous respect for. You as a counterintelligence officer had no interest in participating in a counterintelligence investigation that was not going to lead to impeachment.
No, sir.
That's how I read it.
Mr.
If
Chairman,
I thought it was likely,
Mr. Chairman,
I'd be there, no question.
You are assuming
I hesitate
someone else's
in
position.
part.
Chairman, you're coming to conclusions on someone else's viewpoints in the hearing.
I'm
Allow the witness to respond.
I'm pretty sure it's my time and the gentlelady's not recognized. I hesitate in part because of my gut sense and concern. There's no big there.
Sir, may I
what
respond?
were you concerned wasn't there?
Sir, my concern was not knowing, given these allegations, what existed. Whether on the one hand, there was no criminal activity whatsoever, towards the middle, that there were individuals kind of pursuing their own agendas for their own self-enrichment, or on the far end, that there might be an impeachable offense.
Why wouldn't you want to investigate
May I answer your question?
Well, my question is, why would you not want to investigate that?
Sir, I did want to investigate that. That is not what you're reading. What you are reading is my trying to decide what I want to do with the course of my career and whether to stay as a Deputy Assistant Director in the Counterintelligence Division, where I have oversight of a wide variety of threats around the globe.
Yes, look how great I was. I had all of this power, and I gave that up. I mean, this guy's stance is just, I can't get over his body language. Look at this face. And he's like, may I please continue and answer? No, you're not answering the question. I'm telling you, folks, I'm a pretty tough guy in some ways. I believe I'm mentally tough. But if I was testifying in front of Congress for anything, I would be humble. I would be respectful. And I would not use this type of language. He obviously does not believe that this governing body has any right of oversight. He believes that he should listen to any advice from the FBI. If they tell him not to answer questions, he's not. And this is akin to, I own the business. I am the owner of a factory. And I'm asking one of the employees at the factory, what's going on your line, on your production line, making widgets? And then the shift manager on that production line making widgets, who in other words is very far beneath me, he's just a maker, he's just one of my other employees, looks at him and says, well, I don't think you can answer that to the boss, to the owner. Congress created the FBI. I know that since Hoover, J. Edgar, that they believe they have the power of God Almighty, but they do not. They have been asked for documents. They snubbed their nose at Congress. They're now this Strzok. Well, guess what? The good news is, folks, let me let this play out a little bit longer, and I'll really take the Mickey out of this once it's over. We were 6 minutes into 12 minutes, so we're halfway through. But the good news is that Paige, his ex side piece, I think she was through with him. Last text he got from her was, don't ever text me again. So I do believe she's back and she's testifying. And I even read some articles. She's giving much more information. It said that the Republican senators, Republican congressmen were very happy with her testimony, which, I mean, it is. And you're right, Memes. It is very political. It's very political. I hate it. This stuff, none of this stuff should be political. The babies at the border shouldn't be political. These morons drug their babies across this vast desert. Their children should be taken from them. They're not good parents. They didn't have to go across that desert fleeing any kind of persecution either. That's just propaganda. Shouldn't be political. We should get on. I could go on and on about what's political and what's not, but this shouldn't be political. Definitely not. Memes, definitely not. Welcome, Straight Sith Mail. Good to see you. Just a few of us here today. I didn't even just tell anybody I was going to do this. Just had this on my mind, and I really want to. I can't get over the guy's body language. I really can't. His hands, his arms are flexed. His shoulders down, tense right here at the base of the neck. His face. I mean, he must have been tired after this 10 hours of having his asshole puckered up tighter than a snare drum. And we continue. So far, no warning. So I do believe that it's okay to show this. This is public domain.
Deputy Assistant Director in the Counterintelligence Division, where I have oversight of a wide variety of threats around the globe, or whether I want to remove myself and go work on something in the Special Counsel's office that is very specific, that is going to take, I don't know how long it was going to take.
Yeah. Well, you're leaving.
So, sir, but what to your point?
You're leaving out one really important word, Agent Strzok. Impeachment. That was in all of your text.
Regular order. It's now a minute and a half over. Does it, Mr.
Sir,
Chairman,
if we made that one
on and on and on as long as
the quicker I can go.
Point of order.
I would take one big word of impeachment and add 4 big words.
Holy shit.
And the reality is, you know full well I said both. And you know why I said both. Why I did that and what I'm telling you under oath is that I did not know what existed. I had prejudged nothing. That was all to be determined. And that is a logical way for investigators, attorneys, and everybody else
Starting
to approach an
with the
investigation.
political death penalty and impeachment is not the logical way a neutral, dispassionate.
Point of
Mr.
order.
Chairman, we're demanding
Chairman,
equal
You're
time
not
for every member of this
testifying
committee.
Jersey is
person here,
recognized.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
And
Chairman.
if you can't control yourself, how do you expect this committee to control itself? You've been out of control since you've been on this committee. Why don't you leave it alone? This is not Benghazi.
The gentle lady from New Jersey is recognized.
Gowdy, man, the gouger Gowdy. Oh, the Dems are still so butthurt over that Benghazi thing, man. Do you hear the vitriol in that woman's voice? This is not Benghazi. And right away, it's like the gentle lady from Podunk, Beavertown is recognized. This is incredible.
You're recognized.
When she finishes.
Well, hallelujah. First of all, Mr. Strzok, I want to thank you for your service. Secondly, Mr. Strzok, I think you made a big mistake by putting those text messages on your business phone, because then you opened up your personal phone, and here we are talking about this mess when it really isn't important. Because the other thing that I know, Mr. Strzok, is that even if you do have biases, you did not influence the outcome of this investigation. The IG found that the outcome of this investigation was predicated upon evidence and information. The other thing I know is that no matter how much you disliked Hillary and or Donald Trump, you didn't have anything to do with either one of them getting elected. You have nothing to do with the president.
Look at his body language now. His shoulder here is up higher. You can see that it's higher. There's a crease here in his suit jacket. Will let you know that this part of his shoulder is higher. It's not down. This part of his muscle right here connecting his neck to his shoulder is relaxed. His arms are even further out. He's not springing. This line here that went up from his nose right up into his forehead is gone. And he's now, in a relaxed situation. Still has these devil horns, man. This guy is so creepy. But he is now relaxed in an open position, accepting what this lady's saying as just like a dying man in the desert would accept a glass of water. He knows this isn't true. I mean, he's still very tense, but just compared to his body language of just right here. Look, no crease in the jacket, and he's trying to smile, but everything tense. He's tensed right up, ready to spring. Look at the crease right here and is right up. I mean, look at his wrinkles in his forehead. He's scrunched up the lines under his eyes. He looks like a rat whose babies are being threatened, a mother rat. No line here, no crease here. Very tense. Shoulders at the very tips down and in a springing posture. This person's body language says, I'm fixing to attack. I'm ready to attack. So let's see if I can stomach the rest of this lady's whatever you want to call it.
Liked Hillary and or Donald Trump. You didn't have anything to do with either one of them getting elected. You have nothing to do with the president of the United States disgracing this country every single solitary day when he embraces our enemies and sucks up, embraces our enemies and is disrespectful to our allies.
Spit it out, Grandma. Boy, has she ever taken a chance to take a swipe at the president, but that's nothing to do with it. Everything's president's fault. Some black lady just beat a 91-year-old Mexican telling him, go home, go home, go home, beat him near to death. And, it was racist. It was Trump supporter. Come out, it was a big, fat black lady. This stuff's getting out of hand.
Nothing to do with the fact that the president of the United States has declared higher tariffs in the name of security to this nation against our closest friend and neighbor, Canada, but no one on this side of the aisle has opened their mouth. You have had nothing to do with the president enriching himself with his emoluments and carving out opportunities for his daughter so that she's not negatively impacted with her brands in China, while this side of the aisle says nothing. You've had nothing to do with the fact that Puerto Rico is still underwater and without any kind of electricity in so many places, while this side of the aisle
is one, I'm sitting here telling you the truth. And two, independent of me, I cannot express to you my love of the FBI enough. The men and women who make up that workforce, their ethics, their integrity are unmatched anywhere in the world. And I think that's important, one, because it is who we are. Two, that none of them would accept any of the behaviors that are being alleged any more than I would accept it in him. And three, this entire exercise comes at a cost.
You know, he believes that stuff. I really think he believes what he's saying there, but he knows what he's done. And you can see it in his face. He's very relaxed there when he talks about how he loves the FBI. This man knows what he's done. It would do his soul good if he would have came to Congress and said, yes, I was very biased. This is what I and other agents did to intentionally support Hillary Clinton and intentionally derail Donald Trump. Right here. Here is the information. Here are the files that I still had hidden away that the FBI doesn't want you to see. It would be good for his soul. Trump may pardon him. But when you see Carter Page still being destroyed by the left, but Carter Page saw a Russian one time. He's free right now. He didn't even lie to the FBI. That's very difficult to do. He was wise enough not to speak to him. Listen, I said it before. I'll say it again. If you ever are arrested by anyone, don't say a word. It's human nature that you want to. They use their psychological tricks to get you to speak to them. But don't say a word. The FBI or the federal government, doubly so. Go to solitary for a couple. They got to let you out eventually. Speak to your attorney and no one else. That's the wise thing. But Carter Page destroying his life, even though apparently after all that, no perjury, no lying to the FBI, nothing. This man, everything about him screams liar. Everything. It's one of the most disgusting displays of someone trying to protect their own idea of what is right, regardless of if they know whether or not that thing is right or wrong. In other words, let me say it a little bit easier if I can. I'm trying to pull something up here while I talk, and I'm not the greatest at that. Yeah, I think I got it here because I'm going to play another little. Yeah. He knows what he's done, and the knowledge is hurting. Yeah, I went off on a tangent because no one should speak to the FBI, CIA, anyone, police, your local police. Don't speak to them. They're not there to help you if they've come to get you and they're not there to help you. They're your adversary. Hopefully you haven't done anything wrong, but whether you have or not, it's irrelevant to me. Everybody has the right to a fair trial. Everybody has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty, and everyone has the right to get away with crime if they can. I know that's hard to say. I don't want people to get away with crime, all right, folks? But everybody has that right in a free society. Because in the old days, it's like, well, if they messed up, no search warrant, the search warrant was gotten seriously, throw the whole case out, even if they know the person's guilty. That is justice. Some guilty people will go free and some innocent people will be locked up. But as it stands now, so many innocent people are locked up. Innocent people that were caught with drugs. Oh, let me before I go on a tangent, let me get back to this because I got some things to say. And I want y'all to hear it. I want y'all to know where I'm coming from, because what we are witnessing is real crime. And this is the kind of person we're witnessing it from. I believe this is important, even though the gentleman from Texas was shouted down. Listen to this. No, it's not outrageous. No, it's not outrageous. How many times do you look at his wife and tell her how much he loved her and how, you know, oh, no sound? Let me see if I can do it again. I don't know what happened. Should have been sound there. Let me try that again. Sorry about that, folks. So, yeah, here we go.
You've embarrassed them. You've embarrassed anytime soon because of the damage, the disgrace,
Mr.
what this man has done.
The gentleman from Texas will suspend for a moment.
There is the disgrace. And it won't be recaptured anytime soon because of the damage you've done to the justice system. And I've talked to FBI agents around the country. You've embarrassed them. You've embarrassed yourself. And I can't help but wonder when I see you looking there with a little smirk, how many times did you look so innocent into your wife's eye and lie to her about Lisa?
Mr. Chairman, this is outrageous.
Look at his face there. He is so, I mean, it's like, oh, I forgot all about that. I forgot that the entire world knows that I was humping this very equine looking young lady. You know what they say, never look a gift horse in the mouth. That I was, you know, my side piece was this horse-faced girl that I told, you know, she was so beautiful, and I used my power and influence to shouldn't this be a hashtag Me Too incident? If these Democrats are saying that is unthinkable, but they want to talk about President Trump, you know, getting in the old hobby horse with Stormy, the Double D Daniels, and they don't mind that, impugning that stuff. I would say this. I don't like when it goes to this, folks. I can't go there. All right. I'm trying to go somewhere that I don't feel comfortable with, because you want to know the truth. Other than this person is presenting themselves, I would say the only difference is that Trump doesn't present himself as some kind of Boy Scout. This man does. But even that said, whether or not I don't believe in bringing that into it. I believe in bringing the person's ideas, their character into it. And Peter Strzok, his character, is what you see here. I was so proud of Gomert from Texas. I just couldn't believe the wonderful line of questioning and the courage. He's looking right at him. Now, I sent several angles of this. He's looking right at Strzok. He takes his eyes off, but he keeps, I mean, there is a point where he stares this guy down for a good 40 seconds. And look, this is right now. He's looking at him. He's looking, they're looking at each other. Look at this. I'm sorry. I know I am being biased now, too. I want to admit it. I'm not going to act like Peter Strzok myself. I am biased. When I seen what this person has done, the evidence created personal bias in me that does not believe anything this human being that has used his power and influence to put many people in jail for I don't know what, guarantee you has brought charges against people for lying to the FBI when they are a liar. This person lied to I mean, there it is, lied to a significant other. That said, I hate it when this stuff is brought into the political realm. The only thing I can say is that Strzok here, he drug it in himself. You know, he's the one that put a handle on this thing and drug it right into the conversation. The Democrats don't seem to care at the moment whether or not they tear this country apart. You have Grammy Maxine Waters inciting riots. The latest one is Kellyanne Conway harassed in a supermarket. Stephen Miller ran out of a bar by a frothing at the mouth Democrat bartender. Also his apartment, you know, all these people. I mean, it strikes me as beyond hypocritical when you can have someone here that is so obviously biased, and then this group of people back them up regardless of this overwhelming evidence that this person wanted to hurry up and rush and get done and find Hillary Clinton not guilty and wanted to hurry up and find Trump guilty and get him impeached. The mindset he's going in there with is in no way an unbiased mind. It is no way looking at something dispassionately. That's what we have to have, a lack of passion. You can't, I mean, who here, whether you like Trump or you like whoever you like, who here would want to have an agent, an FBI agent on their case that had already decided they wanted to find him guilty? Anybody here want that? No way. I want to say that I'm not going to defend the FBI, as I've heard so many people do too. I'm not going to say, well, that the vast majority of the boots on the ground, bullshit. It's a corrupt organization. Obviously, that the upper echelons are absolutely corrupt. That tells me that the lower, how could the lower echelons not be? I'm not saying that every single one, no, but the ones that are good, they should have got a real job. They shouldn't have went into this bully agency whose whole reason for being is to snoop on American people. We have that. It's called the county sheriff, local police department. We don't need this government agency. It smacks of the Gestapo, smacks of the secret police. When you can go to prison for 10 years for lying to them, it's my American right to lie to somebody. I would say I will talk to you, but I'm not under oath. I may lie to you, or don't talk to me. That'd be the only stipulation that I would ever have. And we can talk, but I will lie to you. And you know that now. I'm telling you, I'll lie to you. This is the one thing I'll say that is definitely not a lie. I'm going to tell you lies because I don't trust you. I don't believe you. Your whole reason for being is to spy on American people. You are unneeded. We don't need you. We have oversight. I mean, we have everything that we need in the way of hall monitors. This is a good example of federal oversight. It shouldn't be happening here. I mean, the CIA, I love the idea of the CIA, but in their mission statement, they say that they will not operate on American soil. They do it all the time. They have cross-pollination with FBI and CIA agents that work together constantly. Well, yes, they need to work together. No, they don't. The FBI shouldn't be there, and the CIA should be focused on spies and on spying on other countries. That's what they are. They're a spy agency. Peter Strzok shouldn't be beaten. He shouldn't be waterboarded. I don't believe in torture. He shouldn't be put in solitary confinement in a box. I think he should get 15 to 20 years if it comes out that he meddled with this and that he was obstructed justice in this serious of a thing. If it comes out, if the evidence, what it looks like, the evidence bears out and is true. But I think it should be in a nice place, Wolf of Wall Street kind of prison. You know, color TVs, tennis courts, swimming pools. I mean it. You just can't leave. You live there. And you're a ward of the state, and you pay your penance. I've done things in my life and had to pay my penance one way or the other. A couple of times to the state, I had to pay it. And in the end, I don't think it was wrong. When you're young and stupid and do stupid things that young people do, and you get caught, you should get in trouble, as I did. You should pay your penance, as I did. You should learn from that and not go out and commit more crimes, as I did. This person has been so nurtured by a corrupt organization that he doesn't believe it's possible for him to be corrupt. He doesn't believe it's possible for him to have bias. He said, "Oh, these are my personal beliefs." It's not bias. It would never affect an outcome of anything I was investigating ever. What a crock of crap. But, and I'll tell you this, if I was on the team investigating Peter Strzok, I would recuse myself because I just told you, I'm already biased. I think he should go to prison. That doesn't make for a good investigator. That's not dispassionate. Now I have to say the gentleman from Florida, the gentleman from Ohio, the gentleman from Texas, gentleman from South Carolina, Chairman Goodlatte, man, they did a great job. The obstructionist congressmen that were there from Rhode Island, the gentleman from Michigan. Oh man, it's hard for me to remember all those crazies. they did a good job at getting in the way of justice, at screaming, parliamentary inquiry. I just, it was unbelievable to see the cacophony of jangling bells hung round the lulling horde of bovine Democrats come once again to defend their cow god. Maybe a here and there. But just unbelievable. I am today more proud to be an American than I have been a long time. And that's the truth. I'm going to get ready to wrap this up, folks. I sure appreciate y'all coming by and spending a little bit of time of your, a little bit of your Saturday to listen to the music of the Madman. I don't ask anybody to agree with me. Possibly everyone here disagreed with every word I said. That's fine. That's great. What I care about in my soul is to spark conversation, to make you think. I want you to look at this Strzok. I want you to pay attention in the coming week to what Lisa Page has to say. Juxtapose these things. Think about the one that maybe want to lie for whatever reason. Both of them have reasons. Consider what she says as a scorned lover, a powerful man that never left his wife for her. And as far as I know, he's still with his wife. I'm sure she doesn't like that. She could make stuff up. Go into it with a dry. Go into it knowing that it could be one way or another. And I don't know what you mean, Sharadi. I use no ad hominems. I just used what the person did, his ideas of bias. And there's no ad hominem there, young lady. Maybe you need to look up the definition of what ad hominem is. It means to the human. So if I said he was a big stinky pants, smelly bastard, well, okay. Whatever. So, yeah, I think that in the end, I hope that everybody would make up their own mind. Have your own ideas. Be Sharadi. Be a contradicting person, even if you agree. And it just doesn't matter because you want to contradict. That's cool. It may be part of your thought process. You have to do things like that. You have to get out there and use your mind. That's the important thing. Not whether or not you agree with the ogre. I mean, my God, I'm just a crazy guy. Yeah. Okay. And yes, I appreciate your opinion. Sharadi, you're just incorrect in this situation. I really do appreciate your opinion now. I don't know, man. How about a song so I can stretch my legs? Probably come back, give you my final word, and just tell you this. Happy Saturday. Thank you so much, y'all, for coming by. We'll see if we weed out any weaklings or maybe if everybody's still here and go into this last little thing. Oh, I don't know. I just got something from Zero Cool. Guess while I play this song, I'm going to shoot out this to Zero Cool. And if he's free now, probably come back for another at least half hour and get his 2 cents on this deal. I've been wanting to know what he thinks. He's just getting his computer together and ready where he can actually get on board and, say what he thinks. Zero Cool, one thing you got to say about the guy, he's never afraid to let you know what he thinks, what's on his mind. Never. And ad hom, maybe I do use ad homs once in a while. I probably do. I'm not perfect, but they might fly a little bit when Zero gets here. How you doing, Adam and his apple? Good to see you, brother. It's always nice to see you. I think about you often when I talk to Conscious Caracal, see what's going on down there in South Africa. Now I'm a little confused. Are you South African? I know you lived there for a while. But whenever I think of the Boer and the Afrikaans, you're one of the people that pop into my head. I don't know. You're just that rugged dude. It's in my mind. I don't know. Maybe you're not. And you did tell me once that you've rode elephants and that you have seen elephants out in the wild. Just been. Oh man, it's amazing to me. I don't know. Yes, and you too, MCJK. You're wrong about so much. Also, that's what makes the world go round. Is different opinions, different ideas. I would say facts are facts, and some things, you just can't be wrong about. I'm not going to go all there, but the torture thing. I mean, if you either torture somebody or you're not, I think that's a fundamental right or wrong. But that's cool, MC. I'm just glad you're here, mate. Good to have here. I did attack the argument. So apparently, I don't know. Sharadi wasn't here, or as usual, she's just stirring the pot. So sorry, Miss Sharadi, but I'm going to go ahead and read what you say in my head, and I don't know what point you're making. There's no ad hominem about saying that when somebody says that they're going into an investigation where they've interviewed no one at all, and they've already made a decision in their head. There's no ad hom whenever I say that that person is biased. There's no ad hom when I say that you're not trustworthy if you're lying to your wife about sleeping with someone. There's no ad hom there. It's just the truth. You're not being honest. So I don't know. And whatever. And Peter Strzok, here you go. Here's an ad hom for you. He looks like the devil, and he's a piece of shit that I would scrape off my shoe and fling, you know, like a booger off the end of a stick. That's an ad hom. I don't think I said anything quite like that, though. But I know a few girls in Michigan. Some of them just like to argue for the sake of it. I do too. It's fun sometimes. But and yeah, look, it's you know, it is what it is. I'm trying to wait. Just there he is. There's Zero Cool. I was just trying to wait and buy time. I was gonna play a little tune, but I hadn't looked at my Twitter for 34 minutes apparently, and I thought that earlier you said something about work until 5. But here you are, Zero. Did you catch any of this stuff with Peter Strzok? And he may be putting his mic together. He's doing something. But I see his face. I see him right there. Oh, and I think it's like Captain Dade Pool now. I can't do it, man. Call him Captain Zero Cool. I don't know. Captain Zero Pool? I don't know. I can't always go with the Zero Cool. It'll always be to me. I can see his face there. But we'll see. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know. Is it hello? Ground control to Zero Cool. Yeah, I also thought that a lot of the line of questioning, to be honest, while I'm waiting to see if I get anything from Zero here, I found a lot of the line of questioning from the Republicans a little harsh. You know, the facts, just the facts, stick with the facts. It's good in a place like Congress. It's good to leave it, you know, as low key. That's why they call each other gentlewoman, gentleman. It's why they don't refer to each other as, you know, by their names. That's why it's structured the way it is. You don't want to have people just shouting and arguing at each other. It really takes away from the solemnity of the situation, of the chamber itself, of the institution. You know, they don't need to act like the laughing ogre and just be a smug, condescending asshole all the time. That's my job. I don't want competition from all of Congress. I think I got it. Oh. Ground control to Zero Cool. I don't know. Maybe I will play a tune. I am slightly honored to have Adam and his Apple here. I do hope to see a video sometime soon from you too, mate. Enjoyed your videos. I love the, what was it? Adam's Thoughts, the one where you had the tinfoil hat on in the thumbnail. I love those, man. They were short to the point. They're really good. You got a talent for, bam, shooting it out. By the way, MCJK, you're here now. You put up a video. I went to watch it. It was down. I don't know if you can even shoot it out here or whatever. Hey, there you are, Zero.
What up?
What up, brother?
Oh, same shit, different day. It's been too long.
I just filibustered the hell out of that thing, so I'll give you all the time you want to say hello to people, tell them what's up, and I really am curious about what you think about the Peter Strzok thing, if you've watched any of it, if you have any opinions on it.
That fucking guy. You know, I very rarely like to stick my nose in the political arena these days, especially since I've been working and taking care of business, and I just now got my computer back after about 3 months, and everybody's just bitching at me. Well, it took so long to get it fixed. Why don't you go out and buy a new one? I said, well, mainly because when your computer is a 24-inch all-in-one that, you know, if you need to move it and it's convenient to deal with and has all the functions you want, you kind of don't want to go out and buy a new one. But I've been paying attention to this guy, and he was the most smug. I mean, okay, I really hate saying this, but Mark Zuckerberg was more reasonable at being called before Congress than this asshole was. And of course, you know, Mark Zuckerberg looked like a damn robot, but he didn't act like a shithead. You know, and he's one of those things. He has so much money, he could just ignore the whole thing if he wanted to, but he had at least some semblance of, I think that's the reason why he looked like a robot. He was scared shitless. So he actually, to Zuckerberg's credit, he actually acted way more human than this Peter, whatever the fuck his last name is. That guy was an arrogant little shithead until the senator just basically called bullshit on him about his wife. And the guy's getting divorced, by the way, if not divorced already. So
I was unclear on that. So you do know that, because
Yeah.
I was under the assumption that he was with his wife, because you know Lisa Page just testified to him in closed session. The Republicans are all happy, and so I mean, don't you think? Listen, I just need to let you go before I start asking questions. Carry on. Sorry.
So basically, I watched the whole thing and I said, this guy's a fucking douchebag. I mean, and everybody's like, oh, you can't trust the FBI. I said, no, you can't trust the idiots in charge of certain things. They need to be removed. But this, I mean, there's arrogance, and then there is dangerously, overly confident arrogance. And this guy was it, and he just had that grin-eating, shit-eating grin on his face and smirk and everything. And then when the other senator just came up and dropped, you know, just sick burned his ass. I mean, there ain't no Obamacare ain't going to cover that sick burn, bro. When he asked about his wife, that pissed him off, and that got the look off his face. And then the other senator, what the fuck's her name? She's all like, oh, that's unprofessional, blah, 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 blah. Of course, she was a Democrat. And she was just trying to, oh, you need to keep it on topic. But, you know, no, that he got what he deserved, and he's getting what he deserves. How do you say his last name?
I've been hearing it Strzok, but someone even in the side chat here, I believe it was Straight Sith Mail, was mocking that lady from, I think it's Nevada or wherever, the one you were just talking about, that was called Strzok. I think it's
Strzok or Strzok or what? Well, Peter, whatever your name is.
He answered to both, so
yeah.
I don't know.
He got his ass kicked. I mean, it was just he thought he could just, you know, blow it off and all this other stuff. And then the one senator made it personal is when his armor broke, and then he really started getting pissed. And I was kind of glad because sometimes you know, and I don't advocate the low blow name calling stuff, but boy, he deserved it.
Well, I'll tell you, you know, and real quickly, I hate to go here, but if I don't, Sharadi is going to jump to the screen and Sharadi kick me in the teeth. Isn't this a little payback for, I don't know if you're old enough to remember Ollie North. And I was young, but I was very into this stuff even at a young age. And I remember what the Democrats did, and what because the Democrats were, you know, they were asked questions about the Iran-Contra heavily, and the Republicans, I remember the Republicans were doing exactly what we see here. You can go back and watch.
It's roundabout bullshit.
It makes me sick to see this. Why isn't it that they, you know, as you're getting this out, maybe you can give us your insight as into
I
why
actually don't
can't
have
they
any
just
insight into this because I don't remember Ollie North. I was like in grade school when that happened.
But it's easy enough for you to consider this. You see it all the time in different ways. Why is it that they can't come together on these issues that the rest of us can see?
They don't want to. They don't want to. It's divide and conquer tactics. They know well enough that if they can divide and conquer the American public right now against each other, they can start trying to slip stuff under the radar that normally wouldn't be able to be slipped. And it's very simple. It's a battlefield tactic. If you're going against the army, an opposing army. Well, let me make a little reference here. When the North fought the South in the Civil War, there were people that played both sides just to strictly sell ammunition. This is what the Democrats are doing. This is what Republicans have done in the past. There's one side going against the other, and they're the people that are going in there trying to, you know, again, use the Civil War analogy, being the arms suppliers and, you know, sell to both sides, play both sides for a benefit or a profit of their own. That's what they always do. It's only with the advent of social media and the internet, especially within the last 10 to 15 years, that all the tactics have had to start to change. They try to use the same old tactics, but they're getting caught. And I'm not bad-mouthing who I'm about to say, but unlike Sticks, Hex, and Hammer, I'm not going to go on YouTube and make a video and say, you know, you Democrats are doing this, you shouldn't be doing this, or your Republicans are doing, you know, I don't give the enemy ideas. You know, I'm not bad-mouthing Sticks. I've caught him doing it in his videos where he's pinpointing what's going on one side as opposed to the other. And he makes a very, you know, valid point, but he also kind of gives away, you know, you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing this. And it's like, no, you don't give your enemy ammunition. And that's, so basically, again, to reiterate for the final time, the government, nobody wants to play nice. They all think that they have all power plays. That a lot of them think that their poo don't stink, and they're making X amount of dollars, and they know that they can, and they can think they can say that whatever they want, whatever applies to them doesn't apply to everybody else, and whatever applies to everybody else, they think they're immune and, or untouchable and doesn't apply to them. That's all there is. And but this Peter guy, he got what he deserves. Once the senator just opened his mouth about Lisa Page, he pretty much pulled the rug underneath the Strzok or whatever the fuck, you know, whatever the hell his name is. And that was the end of it, and I was laughing. And I thought that was great.
So, Nan, what should happen, if anything, at this point? I mean, what should do? I mean, should Strzok, whatever, should Agent Peter still be employed by the FBI from what you've seen?
No, he should be terminated. He should be fired, and he should be stripped of any and all rank and honor or achievements that he's received, and he should be fundamentally sued. I mean, the biggest hit to a person's ego these days isn't so much calling them names or pointing out the obvious. It's getting them in the pocketbook. And if he wants to have an attitude problem and a shit-eating grin and think that he can do whatever the hell he wants, you know, hit him in the pocketbook. He's got the money. Waste his time. It wouldn't be so much wasting taxpayers' dollars, because you can actually sue a person on a civil ground and make them pay for the trial or the court cost of the opponent as well as themselves and everybody's lawyer's fees, and they will have to pay it. So the United States government can basically say, well, you're fired, and now we're suing you on civil grounds because of blah, 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 which I'm sure would upset a lot of people. But throwing him in jail is not going to teach him nothing. So no. strip him of all his assets, physical assets, cash, house, cars, equity, and embarrass the shit out of him like that, like you would do with anybody else.
You know what? That actually, to me, because I was saying that maybe you should get some time out of this, but I don't know why. I really don't, as I'm hearing you talk, because what he's done is break the ethics code of the FBI. I mean, and there was a couple senators that read it. I watched the whole 10 hours. A couple senators actually read out the actual ethics codes that he broke by using a government phone to say those things. And so and to me, that would be worse, because if he did go to some nice Wolf of Wall Street prison for 15 years, he'd get out. He'd be a hero. If he was reduced to a dish boy somewhere in Arlington, Virginia, because he had to pay for his shared one-room apartment, maybe that would be better.
Well, it's one of those things that, like I just said, is that those people believe because they have X amount of money and X amount of political power that they don't feel that what happens to the rest of us should happen to them. In a divorce case, where if a man cheats on his wife and they have children, we obviously know that a large portion of the time it's going to be found in favor of the woman, and that the man is going to have to pay alimony as well as child support. Well, that's basically what this is. He worked. It's a marriage, and he basically lied and cheated on the American people that are lied and cheated on the American people that have representatives voted in by them in regards to the Senate, Congress, House of Representative, and everybody else. Even though he's FBI, he basically backstabbed us. He cheated on us. So we need to take him, and like marriages, those are civil issues mostly. We need to take him to the cleaners. We need to divorce his ass from his job and his reputation and his so-called standing in whatever, and take his ass to the cleaners. Make him pay child support and alimony, so to speak. Hit him in the pocketbook. And I can tell you his wife is going to kick his ass 5 ways to Sunday, and I would just love to sit there with like this big old, fucking 1 gallon of crack and rum, taking a shot every time he gets embarrassed, because I'd be passed out in about 5 minutes. But
you'd be dead of alcohol poisoning.
I would, and it would be worth it just to see him get his ass kicked, to get more than that.
I just
wiped off his face.
I just soak a tampon in vodka, stuff it up my ass, and watch the whole works.
will stuff one up his rear because he's the one that's going to be sorry for it.
He needs it. And I'm telling you, what some of the things you were saying, I just go back to, I mean, just looking at the man's body language and what he was projecting. You know, if you just turn the sound off and watch him for 3 minutes.
Oh, you could just turn the sound off and look at his face, and he just he's thinking you can't. He has that look of you know. I was at the gym the other day, and these kids were, you know, having the summer program going on, and the teenager that was working with him as part of his job kept telling them to shower and hurry up. And this one kid just turns around and says, well, I can go as fast as I want, and you can't touch me, and there's nothing you can do about it. And had that stupid little grin on his face. I walked up to the kid and I said, hey, you got about 5 seconds to get finished dressed and listen to what this guy's telling you, or I'm going to smack you one. He goes, you can't do nothing to me. And I said, buddy, I'm an adult. I can do pretty much whatever the hell I want, whether you like it or not. And he goes, so I tell you, he took the Pepsi challenge and says, well, you can't drive a police car. I said, yeah, I can. He goes, no, you can't. You're not a police officer. I said, well, I'm an adult with a valid driver's license. I can drive whatever I want. And his face just went from, you know, shit-eating grin to completely pissed off in under 5 seconds because he realized he couldn't argue with me. And then I walked off and I turned back to him and said, it doesn't mean it wouldn't be illegal or stupid to do, but I could do it. And he just started, you're a jerk. And I go, yeah, get over it, kid. That's kind of the thing that needs to happen with this jackhat. He needs to be spanked.
Yeah. Well, I do believe that at the very least, right now, what I don't understand is if you look at what the progression of things, Strzok's closed door testimony, Strzok's public testimony, that day, the next day, Rod Rosenstein, 12 indictments, an American actor they were talking about, and it comes out that Roger Stone came out and said that was me they're talking about, by the way. And so they were. I haven't seen them. They had. Look, I don't want to get off the topic. So that's the chain of things that we see right now. When I see these 12 indictments, I heard Gowdy say, "Well, where are the indictments? Where are the indictments for this?" The next day, I don't look. Every election we have, Russia is interfering with it. It's just what they do. Let me give you an example. Libya. Anybody ever heard of a country called Libya? Anybody know of a guy named Muammar Gaddafi? Anybody ever heard a phrase uttered by Hillary Clinton that was very prolific about 2 or 3 years ago? We came, we saw, he died. That is an example of the United States of America interfering with someone else's elections. They got a band of rebels together and murdered the man in his own country and bragged about it. I'm proud to be an American, okay? I am very proud. But if we're going to get on our soapboxes and say, they interfere with the American election, then don't stand by and say you're okay with regime change, the United States of America with its fingers in every pie around the entire globe. It's either one or the other. And in Zero, I don't know if you'll go there, but the big argument is, well, we're America. Okay, we're America. Diplomacy ends at the water's edge. We should not, regardless of our righteousness or lack thereof, be putting our fingers in all these pies and then spouting off about tampering with elections.
I find it contradictory, not what you said, but the situation in general, because we, for at least the past 18 years, easily, I've noticed everybody asks us for our financial aid or our military support, and then yet 5 seconds later they badmouth us and trash us because they don't like the way things are going. Well, you know, the thing is, I've said for the longest time, we need to start minding our own damn business. Again, with that, the problem is we're having a dynamic shift in regards to the age groups. You know, baby boomers are dying off, and Gen Xers, we're pissed off. And millennials think that they're morally untouchable, or they think they're morally, ethically, and whatever else in the right. They haven't lived long enough, let alone through the things that Gen X has lived through, to see that things don't always work out the way we want. Gen X, for the most part, whether people like it or not, we're not really liberals or hardcore conservatives. We are a pragmatic generation. It's like, look, you know, we have the don't fuck with me, I don't fuck with you attitude for a lot of things. That's being pragmatic. But it's also being realistic. It's like, hey, man, look, if you don't touch this over here, I'm not going to touch this over here, and we all get along. That's not what's happening. The millennials think that they are owed everything, and I don't do the not all. The general attitude of millennials are, we're owed everything, and we shouldn't have to work for everything, as opposed to Gen X, where we slightly had that attitude, but we didn't have the things that currently exist, and we lived through a different time period. We mostly lived through the end of the Cold War and saw the end of it, and we saw the rise of social media, you know, like DVDs and entertainment changing in the way we view things and everything, and things becoming transparent where they would be considered translucent on almost every stage in life, you know, whether it be county level, state level, government, you know, country level, all this other stuff. And, you know, and it's the lack of, it's really the overall lack of having any combative, really trying to find the words for this. I think that people want too much, and they really kind of, and I think ultimately they ignore Voltaire's, and I love saying this because it's so true, they love to have with great power and no responsibility, as opposed to having great power with responsibility. They want the power, but they don't want the responsibility. And that goes for everybody. That's not a, there's not a political thing. That's not a religious thing. That's not an age thing. It's not a racial thing. It's a mentality. And it's a piss poor mentality on a lot of things. And again, I'm not into political science. I just see what I see from only my viewpoint.
Hey,
and I don't know everything. So
wasn't sure you was gonna be able to join us. How you doing, brother?
All right.
About damn time.
I would really like to hear also anything you want to talk about, but especially the Strzok thing. I'd just like to hear your overall thoughts on it. I think I would say this, because I know you'll disagree with it, MC, just something to prime your pump. I would say that when we see this kind of general corruption, it makes it very hard for me to believe that it's not roots up, man, that it's just, that it'd be hard for me to stand here and say, well, the FBI is a great organization, because it seems like there would be someone that would have said something is fundamentally wrong. Am I wrong about that? What do you think about the Strzok thing? I mean, what's going on with this?
Fundamentally wrong. They need to do a major house cleaning in the FBI. You're wrong about the intel services and how they work.
I'm sure of that. You mean by where I was saying that the FBI shares with the CIA?
Right. Well, okay, that's part of a good portion of the problem, but I don't want to get into that right off the top of this. Okay. But the biggest thing is right now what you're seeing is the head of the FBI, the head of the Department of Justice, the head of several of these agencies, right, are now bureaucrats, and the bureaucracy is corrupt. And unlike, I disagree with you, Dade, especially when you made the comment about, you know, don't mess with me, you know, and I won't mess with you. Well, that was the prevailing attitude that gave us Bill Clinton and allowed Bill Clinton to get away with this criminal activity. You're taking a look right now with the bureaucracy as corrupt as it is, because nobody wanted to sit up there and hold Bill Clinton accountable for his criminal activity at a time frame when everyone could see that he was being a criminal.
No, I was referring to Gen X. I wasn't referring to politics.
Okay, but this is where it all came from. That push of, oh, they're all corrupt, and we'll just ignore it, and how's your 401k going? All right. And another thing, Ogre, I remember distinctly the Oliver North trial, and it wasn't anything like this. I would say
that the Republicans handled themselves differently. But the footage is
more than just differently. You got to remember something. When what the Democrats were doing in that case, right, is they were going overboard and basically trying to create innuendos of things that weren't happening. All right, and that's not the case here. When they were going after Oliver North was telling them what he was seeing, and they were saying, well, what weren't you doing this? Weren't you doing that? Wasn't what's his name? I'm trying to think of the Department of Defense, Secretary of the Department of Defense, Weinstein.
Oh yeah, Weinstein.
Okay. Wasn't Weinstein doing this? Wasn't Weinstein doing that? Right now, if you take a look at the time frame, for people that don't know, okay, first of all, Oliver North was there was something called Iran-Contra. Why is Iran-Contra important? All right, it was important because what the press wanted to do, all right, and what the Democrats succeeded in doing, right, was to put a law that said you can't sit up there and use U.S. funds to help the Sandinistas. Okay. And so you couldn't use U.S. public funds to help the Sandinistas. And they said, okay, well, Reagan was like, why can't I help the Sandinistas? Well, we're Congress, we're not you can't use U.S. funds to do this. This is their right. They were in charge of the legislature. The legislature controls the purse strings, right? But this had been a restriction to prevent Reagan from using what they call discretionary funds and transferring it over to the Sandinistas, right? So what did they do? All right, basically what they did is they said, okay, we're also trying to do several other things, not the least of which is we're trying to encourage quote unquote moderates in Iran. All right, so they said, okay, and they were working with the Israelis to try and encourage the moderates from taking over. The problem is that it became a hostage deal, all right, where basically Reagan sold weapons to the Israelis, who then turned around and sold the weapons to the moderate Iranians and let go of several of our hostages. All right. And that money then that came back from that sale, the Israelis, instead of giving it to the U.S. government, they turned around and gave it to the Sandinistas. All right. So basically they did a backdoor. They basically backdoored Congress. Now, Congress was upset over a couple of things about this. All right. Obviously, they didn't like the fact that the Sandinistas then got a tremendous amount of power and actually, for a time period, kicked Ortega out. I'm sorry, the Contras. I said Sandinistas, but I meant the Contra rebels that were fighting the Sandinistas. All right, Ortega was a Sandinista, right? So for a while there, they kicked Ortega out, and Ortega's back in charge of Nicaragua now, as a matter of fact. But and if anybody's interested, Nicaragua is now in the throes of a freaking revolt going on. If you were paying attention to it, but
they make great cigars also. Gaspar is a wonderful.
Well,
stuff.
a number of the Cubans, all right, when Castro took over Cuba, escaped to Nicaragua and took several of the tobacco seeds and tobacco plants to Nicaragua. So basically, they were growing Cuban tobacco in Nicaragua. But that's that's a separate historical issue. I mean, of how things were going, right? But one of the things that the Democrats were constantly trying to do under the Ollie North thing is Ollie North. They said, okay, we're going to give you immunity, but you have to be totally honest with us. He's like, okay. They gave him immunity, and then they tried to get him to basically say that because what he had done previously, right, was when he had been asked about several of these things, he went and started destroying records, and he had Jessica Hahn, all right, hide documents, and then they destroyed records and everything else. Now, all of that is highly illegal, all right, because these are subpoenaed records. You can't just go around and get rid of them, all right? So he was on the hook for committing those crimes. All right, this is why they decided to go ahead and say, okay, we'll give you immunity, but you have to testify. They couldn't get what they wanted out of his testimony because they were trying to get basically them to sit up there and say that Ronald Reagan had created this plan and this was all part of Ronald Reagan's plot. And they couldn't do that. And they were upset about it, which is why they did initially then tried to charge him with, well, he used funds to public funds to build a fence around his house, right? Which you can look at that and say, okay, yeah, he did. All right. His reasoning behind it was he said he was worried about certain terrorist groups, not the least of which was one called Al Qaeda. All right. And bin Laden. And he said that at the time. However, this could have been considered a misuse of public funds. However, because they had already given him immunity and they had talked about that fence line in their trial, they couldn't use that against him because it became part of his defense. You couldn't use the fact that you used public money to build yourself a fence. All right. But when you take a look at the hearings at the time, What you saw from the Democrats was they weren't trying to find the truth of what was going on. All right. They were trying to railroad a president. There was no truth to be found. They weren't looking for the truth back then. They had just had a hearing, and you may not remember this, but they had just had a hearing where they were trying to prove that when Ronald Reagan, during the election, Ronald Reagan sent George Bush Sr., all right, on an SR-71 flight, all right, over to Iran to make sure that the Iranians held on to the hostages until Ronald Reagan became president. And they actually had a hearing in Congress on that, all right, under Dan. I think it was either Speaker Wright or Foley, one of those two.
I didn't think that. Did that happen?
Yes. Well, did the flight happen? Of course not.
Well, I didn't think
did the hearing happen? Yeah, the hearing happened.
Like, wow, I've never heard of that shit. That would be. I mean, I know that as soon as Ronald Reagan was president, they released the hostage. I wrote a letter. I was a little kid, so that's why I don't remember that hearing. But man, my goodness. Anyway, because I see the same thing now. I mean, the Democrats are trying to railroad the president. They're just doing it a different way. And all I was saying, MC, is when you watch those hearings, the Republicans were being very aggressive in defending Ollie North. And in these hearings, the Democrats are being very aggressive in defense. I'm not saying that one or the other was right doing it.
To that point, you could make a case. The difference, though, is take a look at who's interested in the truth and who isn't.
Well, I agree. Now listen, I appreciate that too, because everybody should know about Iran-Contra. I'm glad that you put. But now let's get right into it. What happened here? What's going on with Strzok? You've been involved in the military. You've been involved in upper echelons of things in our government. What should happen here? Have you seen any, as he said, there in his case? What's going on with Strzok?
Oh yeah, you could the where they really dropped the ball was when Strzok stood up there and admitted that the GPS fusion gave them the Steele dossier.
3 different ones. Yeah.
All right. So when as soon as they said that, then the Congress had the ability to look at him and go, okay, now you say you're not biased, right? No, you're not biased. You have a Steele dossier. All right. Where did the information in the Steele dossier come from? It's been proven that it came from Steele. And who was he interviewing? Well, Russian agents,
yes.
Known Russian agents. So you have Hillary Clinton campaign directly sending funds to Russian agents. That's what you basically have. All right. Now, do you have anything? I mean, this is obvious collusion of a campaign working directly with Russians, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did you start an investigation in the Hillary campaign on that? Well, if your answer is no, can you explain to me why you started one? What evidence that you have that's stronger than that? All right, that allowed you to start a Trump campaign, start an investigation on the Trump campaign.
That'd be a tough question for him.
Well, how do you come back and exactly? How do you come back and say you weren't biased? This is what his claim is. I'm not biased. I'm not biased. Well, then explain how you have direct evidence of a campaign working with Russians where you decided not to investigate, and then turn right around and say, well, we don't have real direct evidence, but we decided to go after and do an investigation.
Well, I seen the mic go off for Zero. I know he wants to say something, but very quickly, I believe that time will bear out that he perjured himself. He was asked if he knew Orr's wife. He said no. Ever talked to her? No. Do you know Orr? Yes. And when we spoke with it, look, Orr's wife worked with Fusion GP. Something's there, man, and it really smells.
Oh, he was definitely on that. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just the questions when you asked those 2 questions. I had the mic off and I was going, and I said no, and then your second question came up, and he goes, and I said to myself, I said probably because he got paid off. You know, that's why he pulled the bullshit he got. He's been.
Oh, do you think Strzok got paid off?
Oh, fuck yeah, I think he got paid off.
I think that he is exactly what you think he is. I think he is someone.
I think he's an asshole, and I think he got paid off.
No, he didn't get paid. He doesn't need to get paid off. He's that arrogant. He thinks he's part of that elite crowd that is in charge.
So everything that I said earlier to you coming on would be considered factual. That he thinks he's so high up that his shit doesn't stink and he can do everything that it won't affect him, that if we do it, we'd be burning in hell for it.
It's a self-righteous mentality that I can't do anything wrong because I'm always in the right.
Exactly. And it still does, and that's, that that very attitude that he had, that look on his face, and then please tell me the senator of Congress, the guy's name.
Congressman Gomer?
Yeah. Oh, dude, he just brought the house of cards down.
The gentleman from Texas, yes.
Yeah, Gomer was from Texas. Gowdy is
South Carolina.
No, it was the old.
And then there was the other guy. That was Gomer, I think, the one you're talking about. The other one was
just wiped the look right off his fucking face. I was rolling.
Well, yeah, I mean, because they are putting it into a thing, but you also didn't watch the Democrats try to use. If you watch the whole thing and you see how it gets played out, the Democrats immediately try to get him to strike the record using procedures that they don't even know. All right, that they had to be corrected on, saying this is not, they are not a member of Congress. Those things only apply to members of Congress, and you should know that. All right. This shows you what their mentality is. Their mentality is they're part of that same club. They don't recognize any other authority other than themselves either. Now, part of that, a good portion of that, in my opinion, is the American people's fault. They should have been putting a stop to a lot of this crap a long time ago. They should have started watching what was really going on. And unfortunately, the press really was not doing its job at all. It was regards to when Congress began its process of ceding power, all right, to the executive branch and to the judiciary branch, instead of pointing out how big a mistake this was, and that this is irresponsible behavior on the part of congressmen and Congress and the legislature in general, all right, they just let it. They were like, okay, we'll just kind of let this happen. This is how you end up with departments after department after department, basically under the executive branch, all right, acting as if their legislation. We're going to sit up there and put in a tax. We leveled a tax, for crying out loud. The FCC leveled a tax on everybody to quote unquote put internet in schools all around the United States. Now, how the hell do you do that? You're the FCC. You have no authority to level taxes. Well, that authority was granted to us by Congress. Congress said, okay, well, we'll give you the authority to go ahead and do something like that. This kind of activity is what we've gotten to because the press and several other people weren't pointing out to the fact that the legislature hasn't been doing its job and has repeatedly avoided doing its job for a long time. Now, and part of that goes back, like I said, all the way back to the fact that Congress under I think it was Foley. I really do think it was Foley. All right, you said, well, we need to investigate the vice president to see if he took a secret SR-71 flight to Iran because we heard, it was the. And the term they used was the accusation is so serious that we must take it seriously. Right? In other words, they had somebody pulled a freaking conspiracy theory out their ass without absolutely any proof. And they said, well, we've got to investigate because the accusation is so serious.
Well, they could say, well, George W. was the senior was in the CIA. I mean, that's just crazy. He was in the CIA, I guess. So so the accusation is so serious. So in other words, I could just look at any one of them and say, you have plans to blow up the White House or whatever. I mean, make something up. And since the accusation is so serious, they'd have to. That's crazy.
We have to do an investigation on it. Okay. So you have a lot of problems. But the other problem, of course, is exactly what you just kind of mentioned there, which is, okay, George Sr., all right, George W. Bush Sr. Most people don't know he was at one point in his career the director of the CIA. Okay, there is a kind of revolving kind of door, all right, within the upper echelons, which is what has created this dynamic where people think that their shit doesn't stink, whether somehow they are the power players, they are America, not the people, not us plebes. All right, they themselves are America. We don't have to listen to you.
Of course.
Now, if you go back to, and I've said this before on your channel before, Ogre, the biggest problem with the Patriot Act, all right, is the fact that what it basically did is it took out a lot of the defining lines that Congress had put in place to prevent the kind of data sharing that people think about. And so what happens is that a lot of these organizations, or I shouldn't say a lot, the three organizations had very clearly defined rules and regulations and walls. They had lines of areas and responsibility. When you
the NSA, CIA, and FBI, those are the three you're talking about?
Yes, because those almost all the other intelligence agencies that people people try to refer to, in some way refer to them. The other intelligence agency that you hear people talk about are like the National Security Council and everything else. But really, those really aren't intelligence agencies of themselves. They are elements which aggregate intel from those three. Okay, so they're like the Drudge Report. All right, which is an aggregate news site. All right, they get information from all three, and then they put those things together. That's their roles, but they're not really a quote unquote intelligent agency in and of themselves. They're not gathering intelligence. They're not doing, at least in the initial analysis. Now, there can be political analysis and higher level analysis that's done when you aggregate all this other information. That isn't possible with the big three. Okay, but when you start taking those roles and you start fudging the line, saying, okay, well, you can also do this, and under these circumstances, you can do that, and under these circumstances, this becomes acceptable. That's when you start running into the problem where people are like, oh, well, look at what they're doing. They're spying on Americans. Everyone's spying on Americans. And you can make those kind of claims because that is essentially what has happened here. All right, is because you've broken a lot of those walls. Well, okay, I agree. Those walls shouldn't have been broken down. But who was it that was clamoring for it? It was the American people going, look, you guys didn't connect the dots. How come you didn't connect the dots after 9/11? So there was this big thing. Well, we got to prevent another 9/11. Okay, well, if you want to try and prevent another 9/11, well, here's the result of trying to prevent another 9/11 style type of an attack. The other part about that I've always disagreed with was the idea that somehow they didn't have enough information with what they had in those connecting the dots. All right, to have arrested those people to begin with. Those people were here already illegally. Many of those people were on expired visas. How come they weren't immediately removed? They knew where they were. But there was no input from an immigration standpoint, all right, to get rid of these people. It was okay, well, we just kind of ignore this. Yeah, we've gotten sloppy. So you got sloppy in law enforcement, and you turned around and blamed the intel agencies for sloppy law enforcement work. All right. Now, the only one of the three intel agencies that can actually arrest anybody, right, is the FBI. The CIA can't arrest anybody. The NSA can't arrest anybody. Okay. The CIA the FBI has an interesting capability that neither of the other two actually have. But the FBI also has a role that neither of the other two have, which is they have the counterintelligence role. They're the ones who are supposed to be able to look into the NSA and look into the CIA, all right, to ferret out moles and spies that may be infesting these agencies, all right? So the FBI has a lot of power in that regard. Their biggest limitation is they did not have a lot of the scope or the facilities, all right? And what's more is they were supposed to be, notice this word, they were supposed to be limited to the United States. Only within the United States were they supposed to be operating with it. They weren't supposed to be sending people to take a look at the Cole and investigate the USS Cole. Now, a lot of that started slipping back in the 80s, all right, and even in the 70s, where other countries were asking for the FBI to be sent down to help them in some of these roles. They wanted FBI officials to come in to help them with some of the problems they were having. This is also why you end up with quote unquote FBI moles in places like Mexico, looking for drug interdiction and things like that. All right, where you start expanding these roles. But it's this expansion of the roles that becomes more problematic than the actual agency in and of itself. And even in those cases, it's still mitigated. It's still okay unless you start seeing and ignoring the corruption that you start seeing around you within the political sphere. And that's what you had. Another question I wanted to see that when they were talking to Strzok, that they never asked Strzok, was when Strzok came back and said, it wasn't just us that was making these decisions. These were decisions that were being made by, low level and high level and things like that. And at that point, the congressman should have said, yeah, okay, well, why was this low level person that you said was helping you make these decisions? Why was there? Yeah, he lied his ass off, but no one's going to do anything. Why did he have that viewpoint, sir?
Yeah.
Was it because you had directed him and you had basically told him that you weren't going to do anything? Or did you give some kind of indication that you said, well, these people can commit crime after crime and nothing was going to happen to them? Is that why he had this philosophy?
Mm.
This is what I'm saying. Congressman, look, yes, they were harsh on him, all right, but they weren't nearly as harsh as they should have been. They didn't ask relevant questions. Now, part of that's because of, okay, this is kabuki theater.
Well,
Okay.
man, they kept getting shouted down every time they got to something poignant. It's like,
Well,
point of order, parliamentary inquiry, parliamentary, point of order. I mean, it's like, man, just shut up.
Well, the thing is like, okay, I've said this many times, and I get yelled at a lot by people like Woolshot and several other people because, Pox on both houses game. But the corruption is so endemic through the Democrat Party that they don't even see it. Strzok himself, you can say what you want about it. He is one of the true believers. He honestly believes.
You can see it in his eyes. He's a true believer.
He honestly believes that he wasn't doing it. Whatever he did was for the best of the United States. Now,
he had to lie and say, well, I believed in America. Go ahead. But he had to lie and say, well, I believed in the power of the American people in this. But no, he believed in his power to influence. That's what it was. He
believes that the American people should be subservient to him.
Yes.
He believes that he is the power, not the American people. Okay, but you can see it in his eyes that he truly believes he's doing what he thinks is what's best for the American people, because whatever he decides is best for the American people is. This is the new aristocracy that needs to be gotten rid of. And yes, he needs to be held accountable. His boss, McCabe, needs to be held accountable. Comey needs to be held accountable. These people need to be outed. Now, at this point in time, from a political perspective, I would hope that Trump has going with the attitude of sooner or later I'm going to fire all these people, right? Because he does have that ability. But you've got to do a clean house through a lot of this. The Justice Department needs to be clean.
But they'll scream obstruction of justice. I'm thinking if I was the president right now, Rosenstein would be fired. McCabe, they would all be gone, and Sessions would be looking into it. But Sessions, man, he's like this sleeper cell to me, man. What's wrong with this dude? Only thing I can say is for recusing himself, you got to give him credit, because this is what we're talking about right now. A man that was so biased, had such influence, and was ready to use it in whatever direction.
The problem is, though, is that you don't have a press that's willing to call people out. Okay, let's go back to something just a few years ago. Right, there was a you have the case, the Obamacare case coming in front of the Supreme Court, right? Who was one of the justices that worked on that prior to it getting to SCOTUS? Not
Brett. Who?
No. You had Sotomayor.
Oh, Sotomayor.
Okay, Sotomayor had been part of the administration. All right, that was talking about the rules on Obamacare. Did she recuse herself in the ruling?
No.
Okay, you have a problem there when your own SCOTUS isn't held accountable. All right, to saying, look, I'm not saying that she was corrupt or anything else, but you have a responsibility to avoid the appearance of corruption in these high profile cases, and yet you have a justice of the United States. All right, the Supreme Court Justice of the United States saw no reason to recuse herself in such a situation. This is how corrupt, all right, the left in this country is, and how corrupt the press is for not pointing it out and saying, wait a minute here, you can't do this. You must recuse yourself. You need to have a responsibility to recuse yourself. When the press is only holding one side accountable, this is how corruption becomes endemic throughout the bureaucracy.
Yeah, I couldn't even believe that she made it through her confirmation, because during her confirmation, she said, and I paraphrase, any Hispanic woman can do anything better than any white male.
Yes,
and paraphrase, and she said that right in there. And now I'm talking about like Brett, Lewin. What the hell's his name? This new guy that he just nominated, Brett Kavanaugh. Yeah. They're going to talk about how he spent money on baseball tickets, every damn thing else. But if he got up and said, well, any white man, oh my goodness.
Well, hold on. The thing about Kavanaugh that's going to create a dynamic that most people aren't aware of, right?
Which is the fact fun to watch, by the way.
The dynamic that they're going to be focusing on is not going to be his time as a justice. It's going to be his time as a lawyer for George Bush, as one of the personal secretary for George W. Bush.
Yeah, Kenneth Starr. Did he work with Kenneth Starr?
He was on he was part of the Kenneth Starr investigation, the Clinton investigation. But that's not where they're going to go. He has records and records and records that were part of the Bush administration that he has his name is going to be a part of. And they're going to go through those, every single one of those, with a fine-tooth comb. And that documentation is going to be, looks to be voluminous. You know, I mean, it's going to be freaking massive and massive amounts of reams and reams of data. Okay, which, and I know a lot of people are jumping on Rosenstein for saying, well, we need to have, 100 investigators, going through to take a look at all of Kavanaugh's, stuff. Well, part of that could be because, and I don't know all the ins and outs of this, but if it has been requested by the Senate to look at all that different paperwork that was part of the Bush administration, you're literally going to need that number of people to look through all that information to see what they're going to turn over, what's part of Kavanaugh, what Kavanaugh was involved in and what he wasn't, where his name is listed on all these documents and when they weren't. So Rosenstein may not be, in this case, all right, overstepping his bounds, or this may not be, quote unquote, a deep state issue. Don't get me wrong, Rosenstein needs to go. But in this specific case, without knowing more about the specifics, for example, if he hasn't been asked by the Senate and he hasn't been told, or at least talked about it with the Attorney General, which is Sessions, then he is overstepping his bounds. That's very true. But if he has, and most likely in this case, I think he probably has, they've probably made these requests. Then in this specific incident, you can't really say that Rosenstein is overstepping his bounds or playing a partisan type of game. He is just doing what's going to be necessary because these are the documents that are going to be requested. Now, what the Democrats are going to do, and I can tell you right now, is they're trying to slow walk this. They're going to try and say, well, there's so much information that we have to go through, and it's taking so much time, so therefore you can't go ahead with the process, because they're going to try and take this all the way as far as they can to prevent the nomination from going through for as long as possible. All right, probably into the midterms, because they think that they can make political hay out of this.
House and Senate, yeah.
Well, the Senate's not going to the Senate's not going to turn over. I don't think so either, demographically, there's absolutely no real way that the Democrats.
I'm not sure that the House is going to, but they're hoping for it. They're really hoping that I mean, you've already heard people like Maxine Waters say, if we get control, they're talking about they get control, impeach. I mean, it's such a ridiculous thing to me, man. I've never in my life, and I've seen lots of crazy political things go on. I've never seen anything to where protesters are ready at SCOTUS, right at the Supreme Court steps, with a boxes and boxes with 15 different signs in them. And when they make them, that when Brett Kavanaugh is mentioned, they pull out the proper sign, fill in the name and their talking points, and start screaming and yelling like angry children. They wouldn't have cared. It wouldn't have mattered if he would have picked Barack Obama's first pick. I believe this. He could have picked the most left-leaning, lib nut to legislate from the bench crazy on earth, and they would have been like, to hell with him. He's doing this for whatever. I mean, it's insane to me. The obstruction is insane. But boys, look, I've got to get going. I've been posed on YouTube for a little bit here, and the people watching, man, I didn't even have this planned. I've been going for an hour and 47 minutes, and some folks have fell off, but a lot of just hung in here with us. But I've got to take care of a few things. That said, I cannot leave. That's why I broke in. Before I get my final words from you two. It's so hard for me in the seniority. I met both of y'all. It seemed like and it's been so far back at the same time. So I'm just going to say that Zero Cool has been here the longest and said the least. So we'll let him go after you, MCJK. I thank y'all so much for being here. I'd like to get you here one time too, MC, to show people once again that you can debate, and so can I, and we could talk about torture. I think it'd be good. Or let's call it, because that was a prod at you, enhanced interrogation, the meaning of it, and whether or not it's moral, amoral, a good thing, a bad thing. I really would like that if we could do that sometime in the next month, maybe for 40 minutes, 45 minutes or so, and give the people something that they'd like. Maybe Adam and his Apple and some other folks, and we'd really get some rabble roused, I guarantee, on both sides. So thank you so much, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Zero, it's nice to have you back after this long haul. So if there's nothing else, gentlemen, MCJK, tell us what's up. Take as long as you want. Talk about anything you want. We'll go to Zero, and then I'll wrap it up.
Well, there was the recent thing of these 12 indictments. I did a short little video on it. I realize I'm shilling, but I might as well be a little bit
Chill.
self-promoting. All right. Take a look at it. I approach things and explain things from a little bit different thing that I haven't talked about even here. So thank you for having me, Ogre. I do appreciate it. I do enjoy talking to you.
Great, but if that's all you got to say, send me a link. I'm looking for your channel right now. Send a link and we'll put it out here and I'll put it in the description. I'd like for people to check out. I've only caught one of your videos. As I said, one that I went to watch that you put on Discord. When I got there, it said it was taken down by user. Maybe I just haven't been back to see that you redacted or changed something and put it back up. But good work there. It's good to see you doing that, man. It really is.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I'll put it. I'll give you the link here just a second here. So, as soon as I figure out how to do it.
Yeah, just in Twitter, I'll find it.
I was out of tune with this shit.
Well, no, I was. There's certain things that I think I know that I don't.
It's good to see you again, MC.
Yeah, it's nice talking to you too.
Yeah, my name is Dade Murphy. You can find me on Twitter at DadeLMurphy85. I don't have a YouTube channel right now. I've just got way too much shit going on. I would guess I would only say this about everything. I think Maxine Waters is a loudmouth and is very dangerous. And people that have voted her and people like her in are getting what they deserve. But unfortunately, it affects the rest of us. And if people are so adamant about political change that they have time to do this shit, they really need fucking therapy and help because they're going about it the wrong way. I mean, there's the right to protest, and then there are people who are just completely Looney Tunes, and everybody's showing their true colors. And I've been honestly on a lot of levels not more embarrassed ever to be an American like I have within these last 2 years. I think people just need to knock their shit off and grow the fuck up and do their research about whatever topic they're adamant about. That's it.
Oh, both of y'all got short-winded on me on the wrap-up, and that's fine. I gave us enough time, but I won't take the last 10 minutes anyway, just to be a dick. I said a lot during the stream. I want to focus on one thing. I say it over and over and over again, but in my life, I've found the secret to success. And what I mean by success is created a life that I enjoy. Not a millionaire. I don't, have a Rolls Royce, but I am able at 43 to live the life I want. I don't punch anybody's time clock. I don't go to any particular anything. I'm able to be productive in my own way. And that success by me, in my definition of it, has been obtained by being flexible. The first time when I sold my first business, it was a small subcontracting business for United Van Lines. I worked for Suddeth United out of Jacksonville, Florida. And I had 2 trucks and 1 trailer that I owned the trailer. And the offer that I got at the time, I wanted to get more money out of it. And mind you, I'm not going to talk numbers, but it was a profit. I was selling the business out of it scot-free with a satchel of money. But then I talked to the person I was selling it to. They had the cash, and when I considered everything, what I'd put into it, what I needed to get out of it, this person that was taking the equipment that I had and what he was going to put into it and what he need, I had to bend, and I'm going to tell you this much: it was more than 40,000 that I went back on. That would have been extra cash in my pocket. And that first flexibility in a business deal allowed me to, I have a small business now, and it allowed me to open up a couple other businesses. And I always seemed to, the funny thing is, when I sold this business, it was 2 weeks after the towers went down. And the only reason I sold it was because my line haul profit went from I lost 40%. Bam. I mean, as the towers were falling, we were getting calls. Mrs. Ogre was picking up the phone. Oh, yeah, we had one going from Orlando to California. It was 10,000 pounds. You talk about $15 a hundredweight. Do the math. It was a $15,000 line haul. Boom, we're not going to move right now. It's a little bit, who wanted to move right then? It was scary. And other things happened. and always being with the idea that if I win and everyone else wins, then I need to always be flexible in this window. In this there's a window of everything. Strzok doesn't fit in this window, folks. Okay. I could go on, and this isn't a dig at you, MC, but maybe when MCJK and I talk about enhanced interrogation, I would say even in things that I'm very adamant about, there's always this window where we have to have flexibility. But even MCJK would say we're not going to hold people down naked in the street and beat them with whips, you know, in front of the public. That we would all agree on that, and I would also agree that yelling at someone when you're interrogating them, see what I mean? There's always a window. So, folks, let's find that window. But when we see things that are definitely outside of it, that aren't in that Overton, if you want that nomenclature, the Overton window, that we kick them out. Let's not be partisan in this way. I am obviously a libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, to be really specific. And I know that makes me crazy, believe me. But Republican, I guess, is the way I lean in the big picture. But it don't matter to me. When wrong is wrong, we got to call it out. So be good to your friends and family. Be quick to say you're sorry. Before you know it, everything, including the country you love, will be gone.